We had an inquiry come in this week for a basic live switch job that required 2 cameras, a mixing desk that was able to output a HDMI signal into their Teams system. And the client's client had a big auditorium that had a very sophisticated AV system that they typically run all of their Teams calls through that we needed to patch into. The client had requested a SDI switcher with a converter box to convert the SDI signal to an HDMI signal. Fortunately, I have a Shogun 7, which got discontinued a few years ago now, I think, that's able to run as a 4-input SDI switcher, as well as output an HDMI feed. Because I hadn't used the Atmos Shogun 7 as a switcher much in the past, I wanted to do a quick test just to make sure that I could take in the feeds that were required and output them to an HDMI feed to be pushed out to the Teams call. Here I'm just setting up the FX6 as well as the FS5 to test the 2 SDI ins and to make sure that the HDMI out works the way that it needs to. I also wanted to test the ISO record just to make sure that worked, just in case we needed the individual channels recorded. If you don't know what ISO recording is, it's basically recording each of the inputs individually as their own files, as well as the program feed as well, which would include all of the live switching on the day. I was really happy with how everything performed with the Shogun 7, but the job ended up falling through. Sometimes this sort of stuff happens where you do a lot of prep work for a job just not to happen. But it's good to know that the Shogun 7 will work as a reliable switcher in the case that we need to run SDI feeds rather than HDMI, as the switches that we have at work are the Blackmagic Atom Minis that only take HDMI. It really felt like I was prepping for a lot of different jobs this week, with the beginning of a multitude of shoots that we're doing for Specsavers for their upcoming partnership seminar. The company that I work for, Balloon Tree Productions, has been working with Specsavers for over 10 years now. And I've been working with them for a majority of that time, first as a freelancer, now as a full-time staff member. It's been joked in the past that we're kind of like part of the furniture at Specsavers headquarters, as during peak times, we're there pretty often. The gear that I was prepping was to shoot some introduction videos for each of the presenters at the partnership seminar. All of these intro videos were to be shot on green screen so they could be put into some graphics packages that we had already put together for the event. So there was a lot more equipment to bring than I would usually take to an average shoot, because I'd have to bring 2 sets of lights to light the green screen, as well as lights to light the talent, not to mention the backdrop stand and green screen as well. Since the green screen shoot was only a half day, we wanted to make the most of our time whilst we were at Specsavers head office, so we also booked in this voiceover recording so that we could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. In addition to all of the lighting equipment and camera gear for the green screen shoot, so I packed a separate audio recording kit to do the voiceover. I'm a big proponent of getting to location early, and today I'm at location very early because I had to drop my partner off at an appointment this morning. And since I was already out and about, I thought I'd make my way over to the shoot location so that I wasn't battling any last minute traffic, and I've rocked up about an hour early. I'd rather sit in the car for an hour than be late, because I don't like the stress of having to rush to bump in to roll on the allocated rolling time. But yeah, I'd love to know if you guys do the same thing down in the comments below. Typically with green screen shoots, there's a ton of gear to bring up, and since Specsavers currently doesn't have a lift, it can mean multiple trips up and down a couple of flights of stairs just to get all the gear bumped in. Fortunately, I was able to get a park right out front, so it meant that I didn't have to do multiple trips with a cart to get all of the equipment in. I did hear from a little birdie that they are getting a lift installed in the building soon, so fingers crossed that happens. The setup for the green screen was pretty simple. I basically had the pop-up green screen on a backdrop stand lit with 2 Nanlite Pavo Tube 30Cs, just to give a decent exposure on the green screen. I then used a Nanlite 720B as well as a Aperture 300X with the Aperture Light Dome 2s to be the key and fill for each one of the speakers. Sometimes I don't really know what's quicker, bumping in or loading out. But it felt like it took a little bit of time to load out as there was a bit of gear all over the place between the voiceover recording stuff as well as the green screen stuff. And at Specsavers head office, you're also doing a lot of steps up and down stairs, so it's great for the cardiovascular system, I think. But I am definitely looking forward to when they hopefully get a lift so that I can load up my camera cart and bring everything in one go. That's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next one.